I have a question to ask that I have not asked anyone before, and I've never said out loud, and I feel a little bit uncomfortable asking. Do you think I am creative?
Oh, wow. So much vulnerability shining through that question, Andrew.
Okay.
I think I was stalling for time because my answer is kind of a question. Do you create things?
Yes.
Okay, well, then you're creative. No big deal.
Okay, well
Done.
that's okay, so that's not the answer that I was hoping for. The answer I think that my ego was hoping for was like, are you kidding me? Of course you're creative. Look at the body of work that you put out there. Just the very question is a creative act, you know. But I heard, well, do you create things? Well, then by definition, according to Merriam-Webster, I guess you are creative. Like that does not fill me with confidence. And in fairness, I threw that at you, and we should probably unpack the question, right? Because of course,
Sure.
I know that somebody who creates is creative, but then by definition, like every human on earth has created something at some point, even if it's just a microwave dinner. So they're creative. I have often felt like I am sort of in the creative realm or adjacent to it, right? Like we're doing a video podcast, which is a creative output. I was a journalist putting stories out into the world. Now I work with you to design apps and build prototypes of products. But throughout that, I've always felt like I was on the wall, kind of looking in, like a bit of an outsider. But I look at you, not to blow smoke, but I think you are wildly creative in the artistic sense. I think you can spin threads of an idea into amazing things, and it often seems effortless. I can do that too, but I don't feel that it is an innate gift for me the way it seems to be for you.
First off, thank you. Second off, I feel like we should unpack a little bit more of what my definition of creativity is and see if it matches it up. Because I think people sometimes think of creativity as like, oh, a genius that's out there just spinning up ideas that no one could have ever thought of before. We can all think of like Isaac Newton or things like that. Uh, but creativity actually, I think, is two things within one word. The first is ideation, which is being open to ideas as they come to you, flow through you. You think of them, someone else thinks of them, you see them in the world, but you capture them somehow. That's ideation. And then the second half of creativity is execution, taking something that you've thought up or heard and then actually putting in the work to make it into something real. And I think there's barriers that people have towards both things. I think one thing that is really important to ideation is to have an extremely low bar for your ideas and an extreme receptivity to other ideas coming to you. We all know the worst thing in the world is going into a brainstorming meeting where like someone's at the whiteboard and being like, all right, just throw ideas out. Just go ahead. I'm ready. Everyone hates those exercises because you hear your inner self-censor start to talk to you saying, like, oh, well, maybe we could do it. Oh, I shouldn't bring that up because it's actually kind of dumb. I don't want him to write that down. People will laugh at me. For whatever reason, either by birth or by training, I just don't have that filter. I don't care. I'll just say anything. We're talking about what to do on this podcast. Sometimes I'll just be like, to start us off, I'm like, what if we just went to McDonald's? We should just go there, just record it. And, whatever. Yeah, it'd be funny. I think that is where a lot of people just get stuck. They can't let go of their filter and they can't accept ideas that are coming in.
You're reminding me that creativity is a practice like any other skill. It is a muscle that has to be developed. And I'm thinking about what this podcast has done for me, right? When we started, 12, 13 weeks ago, which is hard to believe,
Yeah.
I was feeling a bit like I was in a creative rut. I actually had time in between projects to do a project like this and yet couldn't kind of generate any ideas. We recorded the first episode of this sort of on a lark, put it on LinkedIn, people liked it, and we kept going. And the effect of creating these videos with you and the deadline pressure of figuring out something to record and getting it up and out and promote it every week has actually like activated things in my brain to the point where I'm now sort of thinking in video podcast story ideas in a way that I wasn't 12 weeks ago. Is the way that when we were all using Twitter, it was a foreign medium when we first started using it, and it had this laughably short character limit, 140 characters. But I don't know about you, but like I would often think in tweets in the era when I was doing my most prolific tweeting and finding an audience. And it was like this creative form that kind of like, found its way into my head. And so you're reminding me that creativity is not just some sort of innate stroke of genius that gives you good ideas, but it's the practice of like turning those ideas into real things, which is this happy cycle, hopefully, that then creates more ideas.
I totally agree. And I almost view creativity as like just putting in the reps. Stephen King wrote this great book back in the day called On Writing. It's like a memoir / guide to being a writer. And in it, he has this amazing passage where he talks about your muse, your personal muse. And people think of your muse as like this woman in a gown that comes down and like, ding, gives you an idea. And then you are inspired and you go and write it. And he's like, that's not how it works. What it is your muse is like this grumpy guy who's like smoking a cigar. It's like a used car salesman or something. And he like just wants you to show up to work. He wants you to show up at the same time every day, sit in front of your computer, your typewriter, your sketch pad, whatever, and pound out whatever ideas you have. And if you do that often enough, then he will start to come more regularly and he'll start giving you some of the stuff that you're looking for. But he's not gonna just grace your presence with him. And to me, I view that as the same kind of thing you're talking about, which is that if you want to be creative, you have to get in the business of making space for that in your life and putting your ideas on paper and whenever you can into practice. And I swear, when you do this, more ideas start happening. It's like how you think when you exercise, you're going to be too tired to exercise more and you actually get more energy. It's the same thing with creating things.
Yeah, I mean, I guess an improvisational jazz pianist probably does have some innate, ineffable talent, but that pianist spent tens of thousands of hours practicing regular ass piano and got to a point where that skill set was a second nature, was a muscle, so that they could play with the rules and try other things and create new things from common things. And I guess
Totally.
like anything that you build is the same way, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think if we go back to my bifurcated model of creativity, which is ideation and execution, and I think we've talked about ideation a bunch. Like you got to show up to work, ready to hear ideas, ready to write down whatever you're thinking, and remove the filter such that you let everything pass through you. But on the execution side, like you were saying, I think it's really important to take ideas that you feel that are good and actually build something with them. Because I almost view in my life ideas as like water running through this pipe. And then if you don't have an outlet for the ideas, if you cap that, it just kind of builds up and pressure builds and eventually there's a clog and then ideas stop coming. So I very much view that if I have an idea, there's like a little bit of shelf life where I have to fully develop it and make something no matter how small to like fully realize that. And if I do that, I can decide if it's a good idea if I want to pursue it more. But paradoxically, doing that also frees up more room for other ideas. And what I've also had to do in my life is realize sometimes I just have too many to deal with and some just aren't good enough. I have to like permanently just say, I'm not doing this, I'm putting on the shelf, and I never have to think about it again.
Yeah, I'm realizing that one of the proofs that show me that you're creative is that you're really good at turning your ideas into little side projects and putting them out there, whether you're putting it on your site or LinkedIn or just, sharing it with your friends and family. That is execution reinforcing the idea, right? And I don't know if you always stay with those projects, but I wonder if just the act of like shipping it somewhere kind of satisfies something for you.
100%. But let me flip it, because I think something that you are really good at is really sticking to a good idea. Because let me be vulnerable now. I think that I'm great at having ideas. I'm great at the ideation part. I'm pretty good at the execution part. But I do get bored pretty quick. And generally after I've proven out the first version of an idea, I'm kind of like, all right, time to go on to the next one. Whereas you, I think, are really, really good at seeing something that has potential and then sticking with it and being a complete perfectionist about it until it is amazing. And I remember when we were redesigning the Atlantic app, like I was doing great in the beginning part of that. We were messing around with the designer, come up with wild ideas, and then the time came to pick it. And that's really when I think your talents carried me, because you held all of our feet to the fire to say, this isn't right yet. We need to keep working on this part and make it shine. And I feel like that's something too.
Yeah, that was the first project we worked on with each other. I think we learned how to work with each other. I think I drove you a little crazy. And I think I also thought you were not as focused on the details as I would have liked. And yes, I do think that often it's the last 5% of product development that actually accounts for 100% of the joy of the product. And that does require sticking with something. And maybe this is the ADHD part of my brain, because I will say I recognize what you just said about sort of moving on to other ideas. Like that's a tendency that I have as well, right? But the other side of the ADHD brain is like tunneling in deep, falling in love, becoming obsessed with some output that you're trying to create and becoming that perfectionist, which probably does drive your team a little bit crazy, but also probably makes the product a little bit better. So I think that is something that serves me well, because I do love falling in love with those details.
Okay, so this is triggering something in my brain that I think we gotta talk about, which is that you can't have good ideas by yourself, or at least you can't have them very easily.
One of the reasons that I wanted to get into business with you, Andrew, is because
Same name.
I feel that my ideas are better when they bounce off of your ideas. I think these collisions of different people with different backgrounds, with different experiences, who had different things for breakfast that day, leads to something bigger. I mean, maybe there are geniuses who can go into a closet for 8 hours and come out with brilliant art. I'm the type that can do his best work when I'm in a group with other creatives.
Well, Andrew, I hope that I have helped answer the question as to whether you are creative. You 100% are. It's not a magical special gift that only a few people have. Anyone can do it. You 100% do. Set your mind to ease. But I do think we should leave people with our one piece of advice, or maybe 1.5, on how they can have great ideas and do things with them.
Okay, well, let me tell you what jumps to mind for me. As you know, I used to live in New York City. Now I live in the suburbs in the country where we don't even have cell phone service. And it's comfortable here, and I work from home most of the time. And I hit creative droughts. And, when there's some opportunity to go into the city for a client meeting or just a coffee with somebody who wants to catch up that I'm excited to get together with, there's always that little bit of do I want to drive to the train and take the train and then take the subway and schlep all the way to the city? And without fail, every time I go into the city, I come back filled with ideas and excitement and inspiration, not because I had some incredibly brilliant meeting with a person, but just because I was surrounded by all of that life and all of those collisions. It just fills me back up. And so whenever I'm should I go to the city? Yes, gotta go, because that is what I need to keep my battery charged.
And by the way, I don't think you have to go to New York City to have that experience. I don't even think you have to go to any downtown in America or even a populated place. I think it could be, there's a group chat that's full of exciting and interesting people that you can always drop ideas in with. It could even be going to the library and pulling out a section of a book or poetry that you're not used to reading. But the main thing is surrounding yourself with new things and other ideas. Okay, you gave your piece of advice on having good ideas. Let me give mine, which is you got to write these guys down.
Yeah.
I have this little Google Doc that I've had since 2012. It's insane. I actually should open it up. I'm gonna look
let's look at it. Can you? Well, okay, now here's a really vulnerable.
I'm not sharing this.
Can you
guy.
share the screen?
No way.
Okay.
No way.
I wish we could do a live audience poll and they could all pressure you into sharing your screen right now. But I understand how personal.
Yeah, they'd be like, McGill, share it. Hold on, I gotta switch over to my personal account. Yeah. Okay. So it's called my Spark file.
Okay.
And I've had this for years and years and years, since I was a reporter at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. And the very first idea I wrote on it, let's see. Make an influencers map for Pittsburgh. No idea what that means. Absolutely none. But the second idea was look at which articles have had long-term traffic through analytics. Wow, it doesn't sound exciting now, but was maybe an interesting idea back in 2012. Long tail traffic, evergreen, whoever thought of it.
Yeah.
But the point is, I had this place to drop ideas whenever I had them, and it was like super low friction way. And I have kept doing this until today. And whenever I feel that creative drought, and I like can't jump out to go to Manhattan or something, I will just go back to my Spark file and I will just read stuff I've thought about before, and that alone starts these collisions of new ideas. So you have to write these guys down so they can inspire you later.
Last tip I have, at least for me, take a walk. I can't remember where I read this, but it was like, if you're not feeling well, take a walk. If you're feeling great, take a walk. If you're feeling tired, take a walk. If you're feeling rested, take a walk. It is there's something about the motion of your legs and the freedom to think. Running even better, like 2x the idea output. But that's just me. We should probably close out with a little bit of business. We are in summer now, I mean, basically. And so we are moving into a bi-weekly production schedule because we are very busy boys at this time of year. We've got a lot of project work. But for now, we are every 2 weeks in the same places on the same platforms that you know and love us. Please like this video if you like this video, because it really makes a difference whether you're watching on Substack or YouTube. If you're listening on iTunes, which is not a thing that people say anymore, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, can you rate the podcast? You don't even have to write a review. Just leave a rating. Reviews are great too. It helps us grow the show, and we really appreciate it.
Hear, hear. Okay, well, you told everyone to take a walk earlier, so I'm going to go do that.
Okay, I will
Peace
turn
out.
off the screen.
You're so evil. Stop it.
Cross my heart to die. I have no idea what you're talking about. What are you talking about?
You have like an extremely deep voice, like comedically deep voice.
You're losing it.
Okay, hold on. I don't know how I can record this. So like, can you hit record locally or something?
Yeah, I'm recording locally. What?
Like whatever elbow you hit your switchboard, like you have like the Darth Vader voice turned on.
You're saying my voice has a Darth Vader sound effect on it right now?
Are you f***ing with me? Seriously?
I'm not turning my video on so that you'll believe me. I swear.
Okay, but seriously, like, listen to the recording of yourself, real quick.
Fine. I'm laughing because you're laughing, but I don't know what you're laughing about. Okay, stand by.